Alright, so Silent Hill 2 Remake has been out globally for a week now as of the uploading of this video. In my opinion from last week's review, the brief one still remains true. Now that I've done 2 more playthroughs and gotten the Platinum Trophy, I can continue to confidently say that this remake is peak over the others, with Dead Space being a close tie for me, between its uneasy and bone-chilling story, to its raw and above average, albeit simple and repetitive gameplay, and its addition to the original story. Speaking of which, let's talk some story beats, since we didn't really touch on that in the last one. Obvious spoilers, if you want just a brief review of the game and my thoughts on it, there is the 8-minute video that doesn't go over any spoilers and only shows gameplay from the beginning. As you can see here, I'm running through the labyrinth section in this video, which is later on, but it's also my favorite section of the game after playing through it 3 times now. So, the biggest praise that I can give the remake over the original is definitely the voice acting. Some spots fall flat very briefly. Some bits just fall a little bit flat. But otherwise, it's very superb and it's miles over the original. Dialogue feels realistic and authentic in this game, which is not something that you felt in the original. It's just dated voice acting. There's nothing wrong with it. It's definitely 23 years old and it shows. But the face animations in this game really help feel or make things feel realistic and authentic. And that's another thing to talk about, the graphics. In my opinion, this might just be the most graphically impressive game on the PS5. I've always thought that Demon's Souls was the prettiest PS5 game, which is crazy since it was a launch title. But, I mean, nothing's really come close to it except for this. I believe these are neck and neck. And the very detailed world design helps the game feel more immersive and unnerving than the original, especially in levels like the hospital and in the labyrinth. Yeah, let's talk about the real one negative that I have. And it's nothing that common, but it's the performance. The performance in this game, on the PS5 at least, admittedly, it struggles sometimes. Like, I don't show any of it in the footage here, but well, some of it might show in the footage here, but there would be a lot of times that my frame rate would dip. And besides frame rate dips, there would be a lot of freezes. Especially at the end in the hotel area, like right before going into room 312, I would have a big, like 3-second freeze. And since I got all 3 New Game Plus endings in one save, that was a consistent freeze at that same spot all 3 times. I didn't really experience that freeze in the regular game, but there was a freeze that I experienced, like, I want to say it was in the hospital in my first playthrough. And, it didn't affect my experience with the game that much. And I was even playing on performance mode since my PS5's hooked up at my monitor, which is just at the 1080p display. But other than that, I played it at quality briefly, and the 30 feels fine. It's just when you're trying to play it at 60, when there's a lot of monsters on screen, it can fall down to 40. It can have dips to 45 and some dips to 30. But there is the mentions of this game having a PS5 Pro enhancement whenever that launches at the beginning of November. I will be getting the PS5 Pro, so I'll do another playthrough besides the one I'm doing on Twitch then whenever that version releases, or whenever that console releases, so I can kind of do a side-by-side, because I'm thinking we'll probably get 4K 60 on that console. So with that one gripe out of the way, let's talk about the story and the sound design. For newcomers, the story is the heart and soul of your average Silent Hill experience. It always has been, hopefully always will be. I've seen a lot of complaints online from people not really liking the gameplay in this game, and that's fine. It's not my favorite gameplay. I particularly don't really like it, but you're not supposed to like it. It's meant to be clunky, James is just your average guy. He swings the weapons like he's pissed off. He shoots the firearms like he barely knows how to shoot a firearm. So it kind of makes sense to have clunky gameplay when you're playing as just your average Joe and not like your veteran soldier like you are in your Resident Evil games, or in Dead Space when you're playing as your space engineer who knows the tools that he's using. Just stuff like that, you know? And I do think that the combat definitely held back people's experience with the game. But if you look past the combat, since it's not a combat-centric game, even now, how is the story? For those that have not played it, it's still just as unsettling and depressing as it was 23 years ago. There was lots of points in the story when I was replaying through it. Now, granted, I replay through it. The original, I used to replay through it about once a month. But I'd always skip cutscenes, so I'd never pay attention to the story. So it had been a minute, admittedly, since I paid attention to the story in this game. And yeah, it's still just as depressing as it was back in the day. And without spoiling too much, there's a lot more details in this version than in the original. Like, learning more details about the absolute gut-wrenching story of Angela and her past. It's more fleshed out here. And some of that stuff can be tough to sit through. I'm not gonna lie. When you finish the game, you're gonna be sad. And you're not gonna feel well. But it's in the best way possible. You're not gonna be happy when you finish this game. I mean, after platinuming it today, I'm in kind of a weird void right now. I don't know what to do. I don't know what I want to do now. And I kind of love that feeling. I kind of enjoy the... I don't know what that says about me as a person, but I kind of enjoy the gut-wrenching story that you get here. I can't even explain it, and I wrote out a script for this video. I'm obviously adding in a lot of my own bits as well. I just kind of wrote a script to briefly summarize things I wanted to talk about. And, yeah, it's a story that... It's a story unlike any other, honestly. Nothing, if you ask me, nothing tops it. Nothing even comes close to to making me feel the emotions that I felt playing this game. And that bundled with the horrifying sound design here, man, the sound design, that shit is scary. You are going to hear noises. So I had the privilege of playing with the Pulse 3D audio headset. You probably saw me doing a lot of videos talking about it before the game came out. Man, with the 3D audio, this shit was terrifying. It made me feel so uneasy. I didn't want to traverse around my own household, yet I knew no one was in here. Like, it's crazy. And your first playthrough is probably, for most people, is going to be about a 15 or 16 hour experience. Mine was not so much. I played the original. I know it like the back of my hand, so there was a lot of things that I didn't really struggle with like others would for their first time. So it still took me about 11 and a half, 12 hours to finish my first playthrough. And let me tell you, for that first playthrough, you are in for a treat. So, in conclusion, do I recommend Silent Hill 2 Remake? I'm sure you can guess, but 100% I recommend this game. If you're more into combat-heavy horror, then it's not going to be your favorite. As like we said earlier, the combat's simple, and definitely by the end of the game gets very repetitive. But in every other avenue, this game is perfect. It's a perfect psychological horror game. You're not going to play anything like it. Still. And the remake just shows that psychological horror can be as uneasy and scary as it was 23 years ago. So I'm gonna leave it on a scale of 1 to 10. I'm going to leave the game at a 9 out of 10. I don't know what they could do to make the game. Yes, I do. There is one key thing missing from this game that I'm sure they're going to add as hopefully not paid DLC later on, but I'm sure it will be paid DLC. Born from a Wish. For those that have played the original, there was a, I guess, quote-unquote DLC called Born from a Wish, where you play as Maria and you explore the Baldwin Mansion. And there's even a bit in this game where you approach the Baldwin Mansion, because you come out of the Jackson parking lot in that general area. When you walk up to the mansion, Maria makes a note about having deja vu and getting sad about that place, but not really knowing why. So they even they even hint at having that mode in the game, but it's not here. I don't know why they decided to cut it, but they did. And that's the only thing, that's my only downside besides the performance issues that I had. If they had Born from a Wish, even with performance issues, this would be a 10 out of 10 experience for me. But with the lack of content, with the lack of the entire sub-story, it gets a 9 out of 10 for me. And I think that's the same score that I gave Resident Evil 4 Remake, if I recall. I didn't review Resident Evil 4, but I know I did play it on the channel the week it came out and had it beat in... I want to say I had it either beat in a week or I had it beat in a weekend. One or the other. And yes, I give this honestly the same score that I gave Resident Evil 4 Remake, and I've also given Dead Space Remake the same score. They are both... Well, no, Dead Space is a 9.5, really. If I recall, because there's no missing content from that game. So I do still think this is the perfect horror experience, and besides the missing content, it's perfect. That's really all there is to say. So, thank you all for watching this review. I rambled for a little bit longer than I intended, but if you did enjoy the review and enjoyed the pretty alright gameplay in the background of me getting stuck on the fucking rotating cube like I hadn't gone through it 3 times already, then be sure to leave a like. If there's any content that y'all want to see me make, that's either be it reviews or be it gameplay or more reaction videos, which is kind of my niche around here, let me know down in the comment section what kind of stuff y'all want to see. And yeah, I'm gonna leave y'all here. Y'all have a great day, and I will catch you in the next video. Take it easy.